Hello everybody and welcome to today's video, which is regarding currency, silver, and poker. Today is Thursday, the 7th day of March 2013. My name is Derek. Welcome to today's video. Before we get started, thank you so much for all of these uprated comments or uprated ratings, as well as the great comments. It really does help, I guess, fuel or motivate me to continue on to make these presentations. So therefore, I'm going to read from a couple of books. One book will be, and just small sections by the way, The Guide to Investing in Gold and Silver by Mike Maloney, and within poker, Doyle Brunson's Super System 2, which is an amazing poker book itself. I was going to write a book based on poker and currency, and I wrote about 4 or 5 pages. So I'm going to throw that out. I will talk today about a couple strategies, mainly in poker, the bluff strategy and the pot odds towards it. So if you're really not into poker, bear with me when I'm referring to these sort of events, because the whole key towards this is the comparison towards poker and currency. So therefore, instead of writing a long book, I'm just going to make this video instead. Go through the key points that I wanted to go over. So let's get started. We'll start off by reading a little bit from Mike Maloney's book, The Guide to Investing in Gold and Silver. And if you want to read along with me, I'll be reading on page 134. So let's get started. Let's find the page. It's the fuses. Fuse number 1, price manipulation. As we've already covered, the price of silver is manipulated, and it is manipulated to an even greater extent than the price of gold. Ted Butler has been writing about this for many years. To my knowledge, Butler was the very first person to write about the price manipulation of gold and silver, and for 10 years, he has been waging a one-man war against price manipulations. It seems that certain entities have been using the New York Commodities and the Merc to manipulate the silver price by unloading a lot. And I mean a lot of silver onto the market. The big problem is that silver is being sold that doesn't exist. It's bought and sold in future contracts, papers that promise to deliver silver someday down the road. How much is it, you ask? Well, commodity traders on the COMEX have made bets, in which they have promised to deliver more than double all the silver known to exist. If the longs, the traders who bought these contracts, demand delivery from the shorts, the trader who sold these contracts, the rest of the world would have to go without silver for more than a year. This means no new cell phones, computers, Sonys, or Panasonics for more than a year. There is no other commodity that has such large short position. For instance, the amount of gold sold in future contracts amounts to only 2.5% of known inventory. By contrast, the amount of silver sold in future contracts amounts to more than 200% of all known inventory. That's a short position that is 80 times greater than gold's. So that's all I'm going to read within that part there. So now let's talk about the volume within the silver market, because I was talking about that last week, how the volume was exceptionally large. Well, Wednesday, which was yesterday, from around 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock in the morning New York time, the volume was just ferocious. Biggest 3-hour volume I think we've ever had. It was that big. Now last week, there was the largest weekly volume we ever had with 8 million contracts, and as of this morning at 9:30 a.m. New York time, it was at 6 million. So with today and tomorrow, there's a chance it could break last week's record-breaking week. So now the question you say to yourself, now, if we have this large volume going on, and the majority of the traders is just by 4, which is stated in, of course, this book here. I didn't get to that part, but then how much are they being involved within this large volume? And then you might say to yourself, well, if it's these people that are manipulating it lower, then why in the world would it even be worth buying this stuff? Because aren't they just going to keep manipulating it lower? And I reply to that by saying, well, if that was the case, then why did we even have this run up to 50? And why aren't we just stabilizing at $8 or $10 or $13 per ounce over the last 6 years? And my view is they are unable to keep it down the way that they want to. They'll try, but there's a song saying you can't always get what you want. Now, overall, these games of poker and currency, it's all mathematically designed that if you want to play it, and in currency right now you are kind of forced to play it, that you're going to lose. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, everybody loses, and those who use skill and ruthless aggression, mainly, are the ones that are going to be coming out ahead of this particular game. Now, think of an arena for poker where you got 1 million people playing games. Now, the reason why people lose in poker is simple. You go to a casino, you play a cash ring game, there's a pot of, say, $400. The casino just took $4 or $5 of that. And then there's another pot that was 60, and they took 3 of it. And they keep on taking these small amounts, thus that guarantees the losses. So, if in a particular day, if the casino brought in 25,000, that's what people are down. Plain and simple, that's exactly what they're down. That's pretty much how it is designed to work. So in an arena with 1 million players, what you would expect is maybe 10% of them might be not losing. That's a very low percentage. And the same thing is within currency as well, because now you have an arena of, we'll say, 6.5 billion people. We'll put it in a big circular planet. And how many of those people are losing and how many of those people are winning? And it's all, again, on the mathematical certainty, like the rake in a casino cash game or tournament, that people have to lose. Plain and simple. Look around you, it's there. The information for how, the math on it, simple and available for anyone to see. So again, it's designed for everybody to lose. Now, in poker, there are people that will actually win. Now we're going to read a bit from this book. If you have the Super System and you want to read along with me, I'll be reading on page 553. And it's a big book, but you know what? The first 300 pages don't even mean anything, really. Okay, anyway, 553. And we're going to start off with the first paragraph within it. Like me, all the top players know you have to be extremely aggressive to be a consistent winner. You have to bet, bet, bet all the time. If I find somebody I can keep betting and he keeps saying, well, take it, Doyle, in my case, take it, Derek, well, I'm going to keep pounding on him or her. I'm not going to let up, and the poor person never will win a pot for me. They'll have to have the nuts or the nerve to call me. And that's what most players do. They keep throwing their hand away. They're weak. They sit down and try to make the nuts on you. That's hard to do. So you keep whamming them and whamming on them, and you just wear them down. And sooner or later, you'll win all their currency. Now, I'm changing a few of those words, like his to their, money to currency. Yeah, in poker they talk of, or any type of casino gambling or investing, they talk about money management. You know, I like the word currency management better. Continuing on with another paragraph. Perhaps now you can see clearly what I explained earlier. When a big pot comes up, I've usually got the worst hand. That weak player finally picks up the nuts, and that's what I usually look at in a big pot. But I've already paid for that big pot with all the smaller pots I've won. So I'm free rolling with all the weak players' money and the money from all the others like them. And again, I should have said currency there. So picking up a lot of pots, not that hard to do. If you're playing a typical deep stack game, any ring game is deep stack because you should be able to buy in for at least 100 big blinds. 200 is essential anyway. Then you're able to have a lot of fun, we'll say, and pick up pots, small, medium pots that you probably shouldn't win. And I want to now give away pot odds to the bluff. Say you're sitting down at a poker table, and let's go over a situation where any 2 cards will do kind of deal. Say you're in the big blind. Everyone folds to the dealer position. The blinds are $1 and $2. The dealer comes in and raises the pot 3 times the blind, a standard raise to $6. The small blind folds, and now you are to act. There's a lot of things you need to know. You got to know who the raiser is. Is this somebody who hardly plays at all and is not that capable of laying hands down? Because if they have a hard time folding, you don't want to pull off these kind of bluffs. If it's an against aggressive player who's just trying to take as many pots like you yourself, then you can try to outplay them by coming over the top. Or any type of loose player, because people will get down that position and they'll think, hey, wait a second, I'm on the button here, everyone's folded, I can just put a small raise and just try to take the blinds. Very, very simple. I'll put $6 and there's 3 to the pot. If you win that 2/3 of the time, you're going to do well. But now, if I'm in the big blind and I see that you've done it, I can raise you 3 times now. Make the bet 18. Now I've already put 2 in, so that would cost me 16. You've put in 6, and the blinds are 1 and 2 for 9. So I'm risking 16 to win 9 to make this kind of bluff. Therefore, I got to be right 16 of 25 times to break even within this type of proposition over the long term. And what I have found out, that if you do raise in either the small or big blind, in that situation where a dealer raises, then you're going to pick it up close to 3/4 of the time, and over the long-term time frame, you're going to see these profits coming into play. So that's really the pot odds to the bluff. What are you risking? What are you trying to win? That's the basics towards it. You got to ask yourself, what's the probability that I'm going to succeed here? If I'm going to succeed here half the time, in that situation, I'm just making a terrible play. Now, if they come back over the top and raise you, it all depends on your hand. Now, you're probably going to let it go. If they call you now, that's the game. You lost. You lost, but a new game is going to play now, and that you're going to see 3 cards. Maybe you'll hit big plays. Maybe you'll be able to play this player and win the pot that's in there later on. So that's one form of different strategy that I was going to write towards the book, but I have decided not to write it. If you do have any questions within any part of game theory within the game, send me a message, and if I can help you out, which I probably could, I will do just that. So back to this whole thing about poker. We'll move it again into currency and then end the video. See, poker players that win will track their opponents. Poker players that lose don't track their opponents. And again, players that win track their own play. Players that lose don't. Gathering stats, you gather probability odds. And then, of course, knowing how to play. If you ever watched the movie Rounders, a perfect example occurred early in the movie. This is a situation in which the character of, I think it was Matt Damon, ended up having a really good hand, 9s full of aces, a hand that's going to take a lot of pots and worth going for a big, full, all-in kind of bet, even though the nuts were not there. So the problem within that play was not the way that player played the hand, but the fact that he put pretty much his entire bankroll in one game. Therefore, if you put small amounts, you happen to lose what you have in front of you, big deal, you'll buy back in, and you'll eventually get it back and then get some more on top of it. And then, of course, good players, when they make different mistakes, they're like, oh man, why did I do that? Or, you know what, maybe I should just reconsider the strategy within this given situation. Now, this is all the same within the currency game. It's all about tracking how well one is doing within the strategies they are doing. And there's just so many, it's such a complex game. The problem, of course, with the currency game is that it's one that we don't have to play, but we all are playing it anyway. One that doesn't have to be designed to be so hard and for so many people to lose, but it's the actual way it is. And I'm surprised over the last half decade and plus now that there's been very few people that have been aware of what's really going on, and especially within the pro poker community, people that are able to understand pot odds very well. Here's the example. Because in the poker table, there's a situation where, say, you read someone's got pocket aces, which is extremely important because you want to do two things early on when you can tell your opponent's got the monster aces, kings, that type of hand. That is, one, you want to get out of it because you don't want to lose. But if you want to get really, really fancy and you got pot odds on your side, implied odds mainly, then you want to speculate a little bit and try to crack the aces, and then when you do, you want to go for the big score. A situation would be you have a pair of sevens. Okay, say I put in a raise from 1 to 2 to 6. Person raised me back to 16. And I got to tell that that person has aces. Well, the way I see it, it's going to cost me 10 to call. If I happen to hit, say, pocket sevens, I hit a 7, then I'm going to go for all the chips and win a big pot. So I'm risking 10 to win a few hundred, knowing that I'm going to lose here but 90% of the time, but I'm fine with that because I'm getting much better than 10 to 1 long-term odds. So therefore, if you get a situation like that, and you really got a strong read, a physical tell that that person has it, you call the raise, you got 2 sevens, and the board comes something in the area of ace 7 5. Well, if he continues on, or she, with a large tell of strength, now you got to be very concerned that it's set versus set now. They got 3 aces, you got 3 sevens, and you, if you want to be an amazing player, may want to consider making that hero fold and folding 3 of a kind on this flop because they're going to obviously play it really, really hard. So poker players have been in those tough decisions and they realize they got to make the right one. When currency is as difficult as it is now, you are faced with a very difficult decision. I figure poker players, the Daniel Negreanus, the Tom Dwans, Phil Ivies, Patrick Antonius, you name them, all those people that are able to understand the situation and act accordingly, correctly within it, would be able to figure it. And maybe some of them really have. It's not like I play with them, and it's not like I really watch them too much, although I've sent a few comments on Daniel Negreanus' YouTube video blog and such. They just, I don't know, maybe they're buying a bunch of gold and silver and they don't say anything on the YouTube community. I don't know, but I figured a lot of them actually would. But when we're playing this game of life, you know the situation. How are you going to play against the fiat currency? We see that we've been having this play for really about 100 years or so. It has exploded to the levels now where we have the food stamp usage as high as it is, the unemployment rate, whether you look at the even the unofficial or even the unofficial numbers, the real numbers, to me they're really bad as well, because what's the rate of people who earn some sort of income to generate what they need to survive with a low stress level? 20%, which means 75% don't. We're at that high level. We're also at a level where the internet is spreading this information readily available. So now, what's the likelihood or probability odds that this thing is going to blow up, if you will, within the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, for example? And quite frankly, I would say it would be extremely, extremely high. See, in poker, people make mistakes. It's the good players that exploit them. And then, because of the numbers game, they're able to do so as well. In the game of currency, people make mistakes, and they are exploited again. And the numbers game is even worse, because you have people that struggle so much that they have no choice but to take out some sort of loan where they get a loan for, say, $50,000 at 5% interest over a next period of time. Even we'll do a low percent, 3% even. $50,000 at 3% for so many years, and they're now in trouble. Whereas someone who's been making it is now going to invest $50,000, making 3% over that next little while. And that's one of the ways where the rich get richer, and well, yeah, of course, the poor gets poorer. It's the only way it can go. So with that being said, I am extremely confident that there's a decent chance that things are going to be, at least for silver price action, to be really skyrocketing. I don't like to use the word skyrocketing, although I kind of do, because that's really the only way silver has always been going up, when it has its sustained bull markets. But this volume is fairly interesting, and I watched Drudder's video that he posted the day before, on Wednesday the 6th, regarding the Silver Eagle sales that are breaking these all-time highs. And now, of course, we're seeing the volume on the future contracts doing the exact same thing. To me, this is like, hello, McFly, get the picture kind of deal. And yeah, so thank you for tuning in. And have yourself a magnificent day, and I'll probably put some charts up on the weekend. Take care.